Hey there! I'm here with the Kindle Scribe this week to try and answer the question of who I think this is for. Who is Amazon's intended market, and whether or not you should purchase one of these or go with an alternative. So let's jump into that. While I'm sure I'll cover some of it, this isn't going to be a full featured review or first impressions video. If you're interested in that, check out the video up here where I do just that. Putting that aside, let's just jump right into the meat of it and talk about who I think should get the Kindle Scribe. Largely it comes down to two different types of users. The first of those is pretty easy. That is, if you want a large screen Kindle, get the Kindle Scribe. Now, there may be a whole bunch of different reasons that you would be interested in a large screen Kindle. Maybe you have bad eyesight and you just want to increase the font size really large and you need the larger screen Kindle to be able to read a sufficient amount of text on one page. Or say you have good eyesight and you just want more content on every single page. Both of those are valid options, and to be honest, all the other Kindles that Amazon makes currently are in the same rough size class. The Kindle Scribe is really the only large screen Kindle, so if you want that, this is the one you need to buy. Now, besides changing font size and getting more content on every single page, there are a couple of other things that would really benefit from having a larger screen Kindle. The first of these is if you read a lot of PDFs or documents. Those are the types of documents that can really benefit from having a larger screen because they're typeset into a certain way and expect to be displayed at a certain size. So say you're a student or a researcher and go through reading a whole bunch of academic publications or other PDFs, the Kindle Scribe is really the only enjoyable way of doing that. I've tried it before on those small screen Kindles and it's just miserable. So skip that and go right for the Scribe. Or say you're a heavy comic or manga reader like I am, then the larger screen of the Kindle Scribe can really help you out in those cases. It is definitely an improvement over the smaller paperweight. However, there are a couple of caveats to this category, and that is, first of all, that you know you want an e-ink display. Obviously, you could go to the iPad or tablet route if you want that option, but say you have your heart set on e-ink, then the Kindle Scribe is definitely the clear choice over an iPad. The other caveat is that you know you want to stay in the Amazon/Kindle ecosystem. There are a whole bunch of other e-ink and e-readers out there that are admittedly probably much better hardware-wise than the Kindles. But say you've already purchased a whole bunch of books on the Kindle bookstore or Audible, then frankly, I'd understand why you want to stick with a Kindle. That's the main reason I do. So if those two caveats apply to you and you want the largest screen Kindle you can buy, the Kindle Scribe is your only option. Go for it. Now, that type of user was a clear-cut answer. Either you want it or you don't. User number two is a bit different. That is the type of user who wants to take handwritten notes or markup documents in books. This is a tricky category and there really isn't a clear-cut answer of whether or not you should get the Kindle Scribe. So let's talk about it together and work through some of the pros and cons of it so you can make a better informed decision. Now, I've largely broken this category down into three subtypes of users. The first of those is the person who wants to take notes on or mark up books. Now, in face value, the Kindle Scribe with the included pen would be the obvious answer, but I want you to hold back and really think through this real quick. First up, I want to say this experience is really limited. It's not the experience that you might be expecting when you think that, hey, there's a Kindle and there's a pen, let's combine them together. You can't just take notes anywhere in a Kindle book. It doesn't work like that. Instead, like on a normal Kindle, you can hold on your finger and scrub it to highlight a portion of text, and then you can take a note on that highlighted portion of text or add a sticky note anywhere in the document. In this sticky note is where you can take handwritten notes. You cannot just add handwritten notes in the margins like you would in a normal book. Now, I do have to add a bit of an apology here. In last week's video, I said that you couldn't highlight with the pen itself. That was a mistake on my part. You can, you just have to keep the pen pressed on a single word for an extended period of time before beginning the highlight, just like you would with your finger normally in a Kindle book. I still wish by default the pen was highlight mode and you didn't have to do this little bit of delay, but at least now that I know it's there, it makes sense that it matches your finger behavior. Now, this workflow of taking highlights and then having notes attached to those highlights or attached to specific words and not just appearing in line in the text itself works, but it is limited. And as I said last week, I understand why they did it this way. I just wish Amazon really pushed their engineers a bit harder to do something a little bit better. But as it is, I just don't really understand if taking handwritten notes on books is something that you're interested in, why you would go with the Kindle Scribe. I mean, it's not that different of an experience to just have a pen and notebook with you and take the handwritten notes on your own. Now, if you do want those in digital format later, you would have to scan the paper copy, and if that's something you just don't want to deal with, maybe you want the Kindle Scribe so you can take those notes. That personally isn't something I'm interested in, but your mileage may vary. At the end, when you finish the book, you have the option to export all those handwritten notes as a PDF. So hey, that's a little bit easier than scanning the pages out of a notebook. But me, personally, I still prefer the notebook, but I'm a pen and paper kind of guy. So let's move on to subcategory number 2, and that's the type of user who wants to or needs to mark up PDFs and other form of documents pretty frequently. For that, the Kindle Scribe is killer. It's fantastic. I absolutely love this. If I was still pursuing my master's degree or was more invested in academic research than I currently am, I would definitely be keeping the Kindle Scribe. When marking up the PDF, you don't get any insanely cool features. Instead, what you get is the bare bones. You get a pen where you can take notes on the PDF and write notes in the margins. You get the highlighter where you can highlight things, and you get the eraser where you can erase mistakes that you've made or things you want to get rid of and change. And that is exactly what I want. There's a whole bunch of cool alternatives on the iPad where you can kind of like squinch PDFs together and select things and copy it out and take notes that way. And those are really, really cool and nifty. They never really worked for my use case. Instead, while pursuing my master's, I would often just print out a PDF onto actual paper and then take a red pen and mark it up that way. I found that was the best way for me to really stay focused on what I was doing and reading the PDF and processing and thinking about it. I am someone who really struggles with focus, and reading on the iPad, I would often get distracted and go and do something else. I just lacked that discipline to stay focused on the PDF itself and the paper I was trying to consume therein. You may be better at this than I am, but that put aside, if that is your main interest in the Kindle Scribe to read and mark up documents and PDFs, I can 100% recommend it. Go for it. It is great. Please use my link in the description down below. I'll get a little bit of affiliate money for that. Cha-ching! The final subcategory for this use case is that person who just wants to take general handwritten notes. You're the type of person who likes to write things out by hand instead of typing them up, and you want a digital copy of that. So is the Kindle Scribe for you? Or should you go with something like the iPad and the Apple Pencil, which is really, really great? Well, there are some things you need to know about this. First of all, the current implementation of notebooks on the Kindle Scribe is really limited. As I mentioned last week, there is no zooming in and out on notebooks. There is no infinite canvas like you can get on the new Freeform app on the iPad. Review on that next week. There is no lasso tool, which is my biggest frustration with the Kindle Scribe. I'd love to be able to just select text or a drawing that I've already done and move it somewhere else on a document. I really cannot believe that Amazon did not implement that. Like everything else in the Kindle Scribe, right now it's just write, highlight, and erase. And that is really limiting. The final big implementation of the current version of the software that you need to be aware of is that notebooks must have all the same paper template type. This means the entire notebook must be lined or dot gridded or graphed or whatever. You cannot change on a page-by-page basis. If you try to, you'll change the entire notebook. Now, yes, most physical notebooks work this way. There's no reason why a digital one has to. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, hey, that's great, all those are software changes. Amazon will fix this later. Don't buy the Kindle Scribe if you're hoping they're going to fix it in software later on. Amazon has a really bad track record of updating the Kindle software. Now, I personally am hopeful that they will this time because this is a first-generation product, but please don't buy the Kindle Scribe on that hope alone. Wait until they actually implement it. So where does that leave us note-takers out there? Who should get the Kindle Scribe and who should get an iPad and the Apple Pencil and something like that? Or who should just stick with pen and paper? Well, let's dig a bit into that. First of all, let's talk about the tablet, or the iPad if you're the same as me. Now, by far, this is the most powerful device and the one that has the most possibilities open to it. There are so many great note-taking apps out there doing all sorts of cool things on the iPad, and the Apple Pencil is really great. Not to mention the fact that you can draw and highlight in multiple colors, not just black and white like you can with the Kindle Scribe. Adding on top of that, the ability to have infinite canvases so you can sketch out like you would on a whiteboard or lasso to move things around, it really is the superior device for general note-taking. With a heavy, heavy asterisk. And that asterisk is whether or not you want to be focused and centered on what you're doing. I, for one, have a really hard time staying focused and being productive, and that is mainly the reason I'm doing this channel, to help myself and help others through that process. And let's just face it, if you're easily distracted like I am, the iPad is a dangerous device to try to be productive on, just like your phone, just like your computer. There are so many ways to be distracted. Now, yes, there are increasingly better ways of locking it down to help you stay focused, but it is still possible to do more, which means it's very likely I will. But that's not the iPad's only limitation. The other one is, if anything, more important. And I really don't know how to describe this, but using the iPad really feels like using a digital device. It feels like writing on a piece of glass with electronics happening. It feels like I'm missing that connection with what I'm actually doing on the device. When I pick up a pen and a piece of paper and write and diagram and draw on it, I feel connected with what I'm doing. I'm immersed in it, and I'm really, me and the document are one in a way that just isn't true on an iPad. For whatever reason, there is this, well, sheet of glass between me and the content. And it really feels like I'm working and telling a digital device what to do versus just, being connected with it. And I know that may sound obtuse, I just haven't processed it enough to come up with a better way of explaining it. The Kindle Scribe does a really good job of merging between both of those. Yes, it's not quite as tactile and immersive as a pen and paper, but it comes really, really close, well over 80% of the way there. But you get the benefits of it being digital. On the other side of the spectrum, as we just talked about, there is the pen and paper route. Should you just take notes on the old-fashioned way and then, deal with converting them digital later? Now, I am biased here. That is the route that I prefer. But in this day and age, most people don't. And if you are someone who likes to take handwritten notes and not typed out notes, then the Kindle Scribe is something that you should really consider. It is a great balance between the two, giving you the benefits of the pen and paper, of having that tactile feel and experience and an immersion in what you are doing and the content you are creating, while also being digital, but helping you stay focused by, well, frankly, reducing what is possible for you to do. And that is a great compromise. So if that is something you want, if you want to take handwritten notes and are someone who struggles with being distracted, definitely consider the Kindle Scribe. But I said consider, because there is something else that I want you to think about. You see, up until Amazon released the Kindle Scribe, I resolutely insisted on staying away from all e-ink note-taking devices, like the Remarkable tablet. This was largely because, as I mentioned already at the top of this video, that I have a huge collection of Kindle books and Audible books that I just didn't want to lose in that transition and deal with syncing and DDRMing and all that stuff. But the Kindle Scribe has got me interested. I'll admit it, I'm going to be returning the Kindle Scribe. It just does not fit into my workflow. I much prefer to stay with the pen and the paper. But I return it very reluctantly because I had a great time and it was really fun to use. It just wasn't full-featured enough for me to consider using it long term. What I did realize from this though, is I don't do much reading on this. So maybe I should consider something like the Remarkable 2. If you have used the Remarkable 2 or a tablet like that, please let me know in the comments down below because I would be really interested in hearing your thoughts as viewers on it. I think that about sums it up. If you like taking handwritten notes and are someone who's easily distracted and want to be able to do more focused work, definitely consider the Kindle Scribe, if not the Remarkable tablet. However, if you are already fully into the iPad and love that system there, then maybe you should start looking at the new Freeform app that's coming out because that's something really cool. And if you are interested in it, check out my video review that is coming out next week on it. I'll link it over here when it's done. Otherwise, check out my full review on the Kindle Scribe over here. Till next time, bye. Let's put the computer on Do Not Disturb mode. How did I even do that? How did I jump way to the end? Whew.